Good now, V&Vs, and welcome back to another Wingless Reviews. This review, we're going to be talking about the brand new Netflix original movie, Death Note, of course inspired by the original show, Death Note. I heard Death Note was coming out about 12 months ago when I saw on the news that Willem Dafoe was cast as Ryuk in the new upcoming Death Note. Didn't know it was even being created or anything, just saw that news and I was like, oh my gosh, there's like a Death Note movie coming out. Oh my gosh, Willem Dafoe is cast as Ryuk. Oh my gosh! So this has been a long time coming and I've been so excited to watch this movie, and I finally got the chance to watch this movie this morning, and here is my thoughts and my review. Now before we get into the pros and the cons about this movie, I just want to clarify something and just point out a few details before everyone starts getting pissed off and having rival comments and all that crazy bullshit. This is a movie. It's not supposed to be a copy-paste of the show, okay? Keep that in mind. It is a movie, okay? There were so many people out there when this initially even got like thrown in the news that a movie was being made that immediately just started bashing the shit out of it. Like, this is gonna suck, this is gonna be awful, this is garbage, nobody's gonna watch this, and just clearly angry that movies were being made about the show in general. And then there was people being like, it's not even being made in Japan. I mean, they've already made a Death Note movie in Japan, which I have not seen, and I can understand why a lot of people are angry about that when it was initially cast, because movies based off of TV shows, especially anime shows, tend to have a really, really bad train record of not doing well and doing very, very poorly. Not just because like it's a movie, but because like the movie actually does a really, really poor job of its adaptation of the film, or of the show, I mean. And that's another thing you need to keep in mind. This is an adaptation. It is not supposed to be a copy-paste directly from the show. It would be impossible. You are taking a show that spans multiple episodes, 20 minutes each, and you're trying to condense it into a singular standalone film. Obviously, if you have any kind of brain cell, you can understand that that's not possible. If it was even like attempted, it would make the movie even worse, because there was a lot of people complaining that this wasn't in the movie, they didn't showcase this in the movie. No shit, Sherlock. How could they possibly put all that info and all that stuff which you are given to over the course of multiple episodes into a singular 2-hour movie, or an hour and a half movie? It was about an hour and 40 minutes. It's simply not possible. And I knew that going into the movie, that a lot of things from the original show would not be in the movie, and I was fully okay with that, because I understand trying to make a movie off a show, which apparently a lot of people don't understand, which still baffles me. So keep that in mind. The show in its entirety cannot be condensed into a single movie. It's not supposed to, because then there'd be no reason to watch the show. The movie is an adaptation, taking ideas and the original like thought and story of Death Note and turning it into its own thing with like obviously key elements from the thing going into the movie. That is what an adaptation is. It's not supposed to be a copy paste. It's not supposed to be exactly the same as the show. It's supposed to have its own spin and its own stuff. Okay? Now, with saying that, there are certain things about a show that should be included in the movie, otherwise it's basically what happens with World War Z. With World War Z, the book, and then the book being turned into a movie with Brad Pitt, and I read the book, it's one of the very few books I've actually read, the movie did not do it justice. The movie could have been called anything else other than World War Z, and no one would have made any ties to the Max Brooks book at all. It's just simply because they titled it World War Z, that's how they tied it to the Max book. But if you read the book and then you watch the movie, you'd be like, these are two completely separate things. There's not even any kind of tie, I personally thought, but that's a review for a different day. So to start off, let's get with the pros of Death Note, what I liked about this. And if you have not seen the movie for yourself, go watch it right now, because this is not a spoiler-free review. This is going to be heavy spoilers in this review. There's your warning sign right now. It is on Netflix. Go watch it on Netflix, then come back and watch this review if you'd like to. Spoilers will be in this review. I can't make that clear enough for you. First positive thing in the pros list, and I knew this was going to be good from the moment I heard about it, Willem Dafoe cast as Ryuk. Oh, it's so good! You can't go wrong casting Willem Dafoe, and I knew that from the beginning, and I talked more in depth about this in the Wings and Riffs podcast, which you can check out there. When Willem Dafoe was cast as Ryuk, I knew that it was going to be good. I thought it maybe was just going to be voice acting, but there's actually a bit of motion capture from Willem Dafoe's part to his actual character as Ryuk. It was mostly voice acting for it because there was another actor that played all the motion capture, I think, in the bigger scenes in the film, because 2 people are credited for Ryuk, and you can see during the end credits that there's one character like playing Ryuk on the pier and stuff, but then there's also another scene that shows like Ryuk with the motion capture and or Willem Dafoe with the motion capture thing on. So 2 people technically played Ryuk, but Willem Dafoe was the primary one. He did all the voice acting for it, and he did most of the facial capture, whereas the other actor did all like the movement on screen and such. But I knew Willem Dafoe was going to be good as Ryuk, and he did not disappoint me one bit. Ryuk was so excellent, and the only gripe I had about Ryuk in this movie was that I wish there was more of him. That's the only thing I can say, is that I wish there was more, because he was so good. It was great. Second thing I'm going to talk about in the pros list, acting on all parts was really good, and I was pleasantly surprised. The only actor that I thought was kind of going to be a letdown was the actor playing the role of Light Turner. Yes, his name is Light Turner because this is based in Seattle, not Light Yagami. It would be stupid to name an American actor when the show is being placed in America Light Yagami, okay? Get over it. Light Turner makes more sense for this. They kept his first name as Light. All right, relax. But I was pleasantly surprised. He was pretty good. I still think like Willem Dafoe was by far the best one out of the bunch. Loved it to death. Willem Dafoe has the chops, and it was great, and it was amazing. But the actor that played Light was pleasantly surprisingly good. I think he was really good in his role. I don't think he was like mind-blowingly incredible, but he was good, and I think they made a good choice with that. The one acting role that really kind of blew me away, like obviously Willem Dafoe, but I knew Willem Dafoe was going to be good from the get-go, so it didn't blow me away because I knew it was going to be good. But the actor that played L was pleasantly surprisingly good. I had a bit of a meh kind of feeling to it when I initially saw the trailer, and it looked like he was going to be like a very aggressive kind of L from the get-go. And like, I understand maybe the writers wrote him that way, and he was going to be like that for the entirety of the movie. Thank God he wasn't. But the way he portrayed L was actually really good, and I was very surprised and okay with this. He portrayed him very close to the original, how he was in the original anime, and it kind of derails a little bit near the end, but it's okay because it's supposed to happen that way, and it's understandable the way it happens. So his acting was really good, and I think he portrayed L really well, and I was very happy about that. Next thing on the pros list was the sound and imagery. The music they picked for this was really good, except for one scene, and I'll get to that in a bit. One scene, the music was really like, really? That's what you're gonna do? Really? But other than that, a lot of the imagery was really cool. The kind of the twisting camera motion when they were in the abandoned kind of building, and all the imagery, and like when m.i.a fell and all the flowers and the rose petals came up, that was really cool and stuff. And the whole scene with the Ferris wheel was just awesome. It was just, oh, it was so good. So a lot of sound and imagery in this movie was really incredible and really good, and I applaud it. It was good stuff. And the end of the film, for the next part of the pros list, the end of the film was surprising to me. When I can guess a storyline correctly, I'm proud of myself. When I can't guess a storyline correctly, I'm proud of the writer. And the end of this movie was kind of both. I kind of predicted what was going to happen, but at the same time, I didn't predict how it was going to happen. So I was both proud of myself and I was proud of the writers for how the film ended, because when I thought the film was going to end, it didn't, and it gave me a bit of a curveball, and I was kind of expecting a curveball, like I was prepared to catch it, but it went a little bit too far out of my glove, and I was like, whoa, okay, I see what you did there, I see it. So the ending really kind of threw me off, but not so much so that I was like blown away. I was like, oh, okay, I got you. That was good. Proud of you, and I'm proud of myself, both at the same time. It's good stuff. And there's a lot of other like little pros here and there, but those are the main pros I wanted to focus on. Like small things like acting all around was really good, imagery was good, all that stuff which I've already said. Now let's get into cons, and this is the part that I know you guys are here to watch. So let's spend some time on the cons in this movie. Once again, before we get into the cons of this movie, I understand going into this movie, and I knew going into the movie off the bat, it's not supposed to be a copy-paste of the show. There's no possible way for it to be a copy-paste of the show. If it was, it would make the movie worse, because you can't condense all of it into one film. And this is an American adaptation, and I think the adaptation was good, but there are certain things about it that I think in order to keep the primary feeling of Death Note, they kind of missed the ball on a little bit. So let's start with, let's talk about that. Number one, Light is too trusting of m.i.a and thinks with his dick more than his brain in all instances with m.i.a. Light Turner and Light Yagami are supposed to be the brain, the very, very good, fast-paced thinker, and they're incredibly smart. And they portray this very, very well in the Death Note original show. It's extremely well done. His brain is going 100 miles an hour and it's always 5 steps ahead. And even watching the show, when I watched it for the first time, I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I was blown away at every turn by just how he was thinking, and it was incredible. With the movie, there was only some moments where I was like, whoa, that was good thinking there. But most of the time he spent with m.i.a, his brain, it feels like it just shuts off. It's not... He's too trusting of m.i.a. Like, initially, as soon as he gets the Death Note, he goes to m.i.a and is like, guess what? I got a Death Note. I can kill people. I'm going to prove it to you. Look, I killed him. Like, excuse me? What are you, how badly do you want to have sex with this girl and feel appreciated? It's clearly shown at the very beginning of the movie that he's a genius by writing all these quizzes for other people so that he can get money from them, because he's smart. We know that, and it's portrayed that well. But when it comes to m.i.a, it's just all his brain, it turns to mush, and I don't enjoy that. I think that's the wrong feeling to portray. Because as you guys know, in the original Death Note, Light used m.i.a the entire time. Light never got feelings for m.i.a once, not a sliver of feelings for m.i.a. She was always a means to an end for him, and it was portrayed very, very well. With this movie, m.i.a was the love interest, except for certain parts where she became a means to an end, but for the majority of it, she was a love interest, and his brain just went to mush the entire time, and she took advantage of that. And I don't think Light would be that dumb to understand that she would take advantage of that and that his brain would shut off. That just, it took me out of it a little bit. I think Light is smart enough to know when he's being played and to understand how powerful of a gift he has been given and not to share it initially off the bat with a girl he doesn't even know. It's just, that for me was a little bit of, really? I don't think so. Second con I want to talk about is that Ryuk is primarily supposed to be an observer. Shinigami are supposed to only observe. They can't initially do anything or say anything as portrayed in the original Death Note. And it's almost done that way in the movie, except for the very, very beginning. He's kind of pushy, and he kind of keeps the push on a little bit instead of the observer role. Because initially, right at the beginning of the movie, where he's talking about how to use the Death Note, he's like, you write a name down, see what happens, that's how you do it. And he's like, okay, well, let's go try and kill this bully. But he writes the name down, but then Ryuk is like, well, now that we're playing, let's make it interesting, like, do more. And he's kind of like instigating to do more, which is why he eventually writes down decapitation instead of just leaving the name down there and then him dying of a heart attack. So it's a little pushy for Ryuk to be doing. It was kind of a weird feeling because he's supposed to be primarily an observer. He goes, here's a note, do what you want. If you don't want the note, leave it for 7 days, I'll find a new owner. And you're supposed to just observe. That's how he did in the other thing. Like, he can make his comments and his stuff, but he's not tell him how to do things. And in the movie, he kind of becomes a little bit pushy. He never directly tells Light what to do, which is nice, because I think that would have been stepping too far. But he does get a little bit pushy, and he's like, you should probably do this, or you should probably do this, and while we're playing, why don't you do this? And it's a little pushy, which kind of is like, you're supposed to observe, I don't know, blah, blah, blah. And again, they're allowed to make their own adaptations. It's an adaptation of Death Note, but again, core elements of Death Note, I think, need to be portrayed in order for it to still feel like Death Note, and that was one where I think it was a little bit much. Third thing on the con list I want to talk about is the whole situation around Watari. Watari is like, he's like he's L's watcher. He's L's bodyguard and L's like right-hand man. He's been there for L since the beginning of his life. And so you'd think he would pick up on certain key like thinkings like L. Like not using your real name in public. Watari used his real name in public, and then Light was able to use that against him and then use him for his own will. Granted, he wasn't meaning to kill him, but he had his face in public media. He used his real name across. L didn't even use his name at all, but Watari can still use his real name. That just seems stupid to me. Like, why would he do that when he's that close to L? That seems like a complete misstep on his opinion, on his character, and I think that is just that was wrong of him. And on top of that, when L is using him to gain, or when Light is using him to gain knowledge of L, it's really difficult with the two L names, I'm sorry, but he used his actual phone number. Like, Light made WinglessValkyrie call his personal cell. If WinglessValkyrie ever got investigated, or they looked at like who he last called during these days where he was clearly not himself, it leads straight to Light's phone. Like, how, what? And that just goes against Light's brain, and he's supposed to be really, really smart, but that just kind of goes against, it's like, why are you getting him to call your personal cell phone? And on top of that, when he does get WinglessValkyrie to call him when he initially wakes up and has been written, Light plays dumb, like, why are you calling me? Why are you giving me this information? Which is good. You should be doing that in case they have any phone recordings, because then it kind of goes like, I don't understand why you're calling me and giving me all this information. But then in the blink of an eye, he just immediately goes, okay, you're going to do this, you're going to do this, and then he starts just demanding him what to do. No, you can't sleep, you have to do this. And that just takes away from the beginning. It's like, why would you play dumb when you get him to call you, but then in the same moment immediately switch from playing dumb to, yep, okay, and then like start telling him what to do? It just, you're flipping the switch too damn fast here. Make up your mind. Are you playing dumb and he's just feeding you information and you don't understand what's going on, but obviously you clearly do? Or you clearly don't care anymore and you're telling him what to do? Like, make up your mind. It just goes against Light's brain to do that. So everything around that, I just felt was off. Him using his real name when he's obviously close to L and he shouldn't be using his real name or covering his face, that's stupid on his part. The whole calling his personal cell phone number and getting him to call his personal cell, not a burner phone or anything, was stupid on his part. And then acting stupid and then turning into like, yep, okay, you're gonna do this for me, you're gonna do this for me, in the same phone call was stupid. That whole situation was just wrong and off-putting. Fourth thing on the cons list is the fact that L goes to the scene of the crime where it initially happened and is there in person, and then afterwards goes and makes a public announcement in person, I think is a bit on the nose. Yes, his face is covered. Yes, no one knows his real name. But in the original anime, when they went to do that, he used a fake. He used a body to portray this to see if, if Light could in fact kill that way. And in the original Death Note, he could. But in this one, he couldn't because obviously he didn't know the name and he couldn't see the face clearly. But I think it was very, very, very risky for L to take that chance with going to the crime scene in person and not sending WinglessValkyrie or anybody else. And then when he makes the public announcement about like L and the fact that he's in Seattle and everything and like confronts him on camera, yeah, obviously it didn't work because he lived, but I think for L to take that big of a risk this early on in the investigation was a bit out of character, it appeared. It seemed a bit forward and a bit off to me. But, I mean, again, you can argue, well, he didn't know his actual name and he didn't know what his face actually looked like, so he 100% knew he was safe, but still you'd think he would take the extra added precaution. I don't know. Next thing on the cons list is that Light makes it too clearly obvious to L that he's Kira when they meet in the coffee shop. Like, L's clearly got in his mind that Light is Kira, 100%. He knows that for a fact. He's gotten that down to the point, so he's gonna go confront him and be like, yo, I know you're Kira, what up? And everything. And you know what? That's fine. That's okay. I got no grip with that. That's all right. And again, this kind of plays into the whole thing with the phone conversation, WinglessValkyrie. He initially goes there and he's like, hi, I know you're Kira. What's up? We're gonna have a conversation. And Light plays dumb. He's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I was just leaving. But then, like, in the same moment, he starts confronting him and is like, all right, yeah, we're gonna play this game of chess. Let's go. And just shows him immediately off. It's like, you went from playing dumb to, okay, yeah, I'm Kira. You know I'm Kira. I know I'm Kira. But there's no way for you to, like, get me or anything. So we're gonna have this stare down, this intense moment, which, yes, the scene was intense. Yes, it was cool. But it was against Light's character to, again, playing dumb, and just completely 180 switch it. It just, it keeps doing that, and I don't think it was right. I think he should have either stuck with one. Either, yep, I'm Kira, what you gonna do? You have no way to prove it, and kind of go with that. Or just go with the play dumb. You can't start with playing dumb and then switch it immediately to like, yep, you got me, what you gonna do about it? You gotta pick a side. Pick one side of the coin and stick with it. You can't keep flipping the coin. It's really off-putting. And that's mainly it for the cons about this movie. So yes, there's a little bit more cons than pros, but thankfully the pros kind of start to weigh the balance of the cons for me. So now we're going to go into the little things that I wish were in the movie that weren't in it. So like little things that I think they should have kept from the original Death Note to give it more of the Death Note feeling. Again, these aren't pros or cons, and I kind of understand why some of them aren't involved, but I would have liked them to be in there. Number one, Ryuk's wings. Ryuk is a death god. He's from the death god realm, the Shinigami realm. And the whole time when he's in the show, from the original show, he's got wings, he's hunched over and he's following Light around because Light is the owner of the Death Note and Ryuk has to follow the Death Note and he is tied to it until the Death Note gets passed on. That is the whole role of a Shinigami, and it's kind of portrayed that way because he's always around Light all the time because Light has the book, but he's never seen moving. He's always seen positioned in one spot, continuously changing, and you never see him like walking anywhere or anything, and no kind of movement at all. And I think giving him the wings would have also made him a bigger character because wings just would have made him cool, and it was an essential part of him. Like he was cool, and he was definitely a big character in the movie, but I think giving him his wings that he initially had would have made him a bigger character and would have just made him a bit more of a scary force to be messed with than he originally was. I can kind of understand why they didn't put it in because it would have been a lot of extra work, but I think it would have just made the character of Ryuk that much bigger and that much better. Second thing that I kind of wish was involved in the movie that wasn't was the mention of other death gods in existence, like Rem, for instance, or just the Shinigami realm at all. Stuff like that I think should have been in the movie because it's kind of dabbled on that he is the only death god, because when he's looking through the book and he's looking at death gods and learning about them, there's a clear image depiction of Ryuk in the book, but there's no mention of other death gods. So it's kind of portraying Ryuk as the one and only death god. And if they're going for that and that was the intention, then okay. But I think it's impossible to make Ryuk the only death god for Earth, even if that was what they were going for. It doesn't make sense to be doing that because then that notebook would have a lot more pages filled with names, considering that they mentioned in the movie the note is as old as time. Well, if the note is as old as time, how is there so many clear pages in a note this big that are still able to be written on? Like, there's no possible way for that. There are clearly more than one death note being passed around. Otherwise that note would have been filled before it anywhere near the present time got to Light. I think a sheer mention of the fact that there are other death gods in the existence, or the fact that Shinigami realms and there are more death gods with their own death notes in existence, would clear up so much, because you make the statement that the note is as old as time, but only like 4 or 5 pages of the note are actually filled with names from previous owners. That doesn't make sense. If the note's as old as time, it would have thousands of owners before then. It doesn't make sense that only that little in that amount of time has been written on. Not clear. So I think it expands the universe by doing so, but I think it was essential and it should have been in there. So it's kind of leaning to a con, but at the same time, like, I wish it was introduced that there were more death gods like Rem in existence than just Ryuk. And the last thing I kind of wish was in it, and like obviously it didn't have to be, but one of the most iconic memes and stuff from the Death Note show is when Light is like, when he's under watch from the cameras and he's watching criminals on the television in like the potato chip bag, and then he's like doing homework with his other bag, and when he's the scene where he's like, I'll take a potato chip and eat it, and it's so intense and stuff. Like, it's so funny and it's so just like, what? And it's one of the most memorable moments from the original Death Note. And of course, they couldn't do that kind of scene where he's thinking in his head and he's like, I'll take a potato chip and eat it, because that would be too far-fetched for a live action film. But I think like even just a little bit of a Easter egg for it. Like if he's watching TV with his dad or something with m.i.a, and he's eating potato chips and you can clearly see his potato chips, something like that I think would have been a nice little tip off to that scene. I think that would have been nice. And again, 100% not needed at all, but it would have been a nice little Easter egg to just include potato chips somewhere. And hey, maybe there was potato chip bag like in his room or something that I didn't notice upon my first watch. If there was, please let me know. But I think something like that would have been a nice little tip-off Easter egg. So all in all, what do I think about the Death Note movie, the Netflix original? I was okay with it. I think it was good. I liked the movie. Again, and I've said this numerous times, I went into the movie knowing it would be an adaptation, knowing it would not include everything from the original show, because how could it? There's no possible way. And it was to be a standalone thing with the feeling of Death Note, but obviously could not include everything. And I went into there knowing that. A lot of people watch that movie expecting it to be exactly the same as the show. And I'm sorry if you went to the movie thinking it was going to be a clear, direct relation to the show, you're an idiot. There's no possible way for that to happen. And a lot of people went to the movie clearly just to bash it, just to simply be like, m.i.a is not like this in the show, Light's not like this in the show. Another big thing that I thought was just stupid of people was L was not black in the show. Like, is that really a problem? Are you really gonna, are we still doing that? Good fucking God, humans. So people like that clearly went to the show just to bash it, or went to the movie just to bash it, I think just don't even listen to them. If you like movies like I do, and you watch them to appreciate them for what they are, as a standalone movie, I think Death Note was good. It had a lot of elements from the original show that keep the feeling of Death Note, which I think was good. Were there some things that I think they could have done better? Absolutely. I think Light could have been a little bit smarter in his decisions, especially around m.i.a and the Valkyrie situation. I think those could have been portrayed way smarter for him and way better. But there were certain elements that I thought were really, really good. Willem Dafoe as Ryuk was outstanding. The actor that played L pleasantly surprised me and was really, really good. One scene that was really just kind of like, what, was when, again, spoilers for obviously, when m.i.a fell out of the Ferris wheel, the music that kicks in when m.i.a is falling, I think is just weird. It took me out of the moment. I was in the moment, I was watching this happen, and then everything went into the like slow motion, and then the song that kicked in was just like, what? What? It just didn't make sense. And it took me out of the moment. I started kind of laughing when the song came on. I was like, what? Why? No, please. This took me completely out of the moment. I think that was the one time where sound and imagery did not fit at all, and it took me out of the moment for it. It was nah. When m.i.a eventually hit the ground and all the flowers exploded and everything, that was really, really cool, and I thoroughly enjoyed that scene. But the music leading up to it, I think it was the wrong choice. So all in all, I give this movie a 7.5 out of 10. Some of you are going to be mad with that and you want me to just bash on it because it's not as good as the show or anything, or blah, 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 blah. But I liked the movie. I think it was good as a standalone movie. Some people are saying like, oh, it could be a sequel because Light is still alive and stuff. I don't think so. It doesn't, like, it kind of leaves off that it could be a sequel, but I think just as a standalone movie, it does its job and it's fine how it is. So what did you think of the Death Note movie? Leave your comments down below. What did you like about the movie? What did you not like about the movie? What were your initial thoughts about it? I've shared mine. I'd love to hear yours. The Death Note movie is on Netflix. It's free to watch if you have a Netflix subscription, of course. It's 1 hour and 40 minutes in runtime, and I think it's worth checking out. It was good. And like, Death Note was one of my favorite animes ever. It's one of my top 5, right beside Code Geass. It was a great anime. I love it to death, and I think the movie was good. I think it's worth checking out. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, tell your friends. If you didn't, you tell me. Have yourself a good one, everybody. Score!